Don't wait till you're ready. You will never be ready. I've never been satisfied with the status quo. I've always thought school can be so much more than what it currently is. Whilst I've always aimed to be operationally excellent, I've always looked at what else could I do.
So many of our schools still really operate in that very compliance-heavy, reactive environments in schools. And we know from everything that you've shared is because your school and the way you're doing things is challenging those compliance-heavy things.
The research we've been doing around the role that the state and nervous system of the teacher or leader in a space has on the physiological and psychological experience of the young people. If there's a state of wellness in your educators, then their state is calmer.
You obviously value as a leader innovation, but what I'm guessing is you don't just value innovation from leadership and you expect it across the entire staff base.
Podclass acknowledges the traditional and true custodians of the land we meet on here today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We're grateful to be here.
So no one told you teaching was gonna be this way. Your lesson plans are jokes, your patience broke, you're feeling in disarray. It's like you're always stuck in report writing, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your school year. But I'll be here for you.
When the students start to riot,
I'll be here for you.
even if your coffee has gone cold,
I'll be here for you, 'cause you're there for them too.
Hello and welcome back to Podclass. You are joined, as always, by your hosts, Skye, that would be me.
Amanda, that would be me.
and Will, welcome back.
And today on Podclass, we are joined by one of Australia's most forward-thinking education leaders, Dr. Adrian Cam. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. Great to be on the show.
And now we are going to read out a really embarrassing, no, not embarrassing, actually a very impressive bio so our community can learn a little bit more about you. Adrian is the principal of Westbourne Grammar School and the managing director of its board. He's a strategist, innovator, and someone who's spent his career challenging outdated models of education and building what comes next. Under his leadership, Westbourne has launched nationally recognised initiatives like the Gear Ed Middle Years program, a dedicated AI academy, and is currently developing a brand new campus designed for future-focused learning. He holds a PhD exploring teacher agency and complexity in schools, and his work has been recognised with some of the highest honours in education, including very recently being named the 2025 Australian Principal of the Year. We are so excited to have him on Podclass to talk about educational leadership, innovation, and what it really means to do school differently.
How's that intro?
Love it.
There is so much in there, and I feel like we are all brimming with a trillion questions. But first of all, obviously, such a recent accolade, the 2025 Principal of the Year here in Australia. What does that mean to you, and what do you feel like has contributed to you holding that honour this year?
Yeah, thank you. It's a huge honour. And, you know, it's been a whirlwind few months since the Australian Education Awards. And I feel really lucky. I feel really privileged. I've worked really hard to get to where I am
Let's
today.
not underplay that, you know, because I feel like we're so quick to be like, oh, got lucky and I'm blessed. And also it's like hard work, sacrifices. But in saying that, I'm incredibly fortunate to work with an incredible team at Westbourne Grammar that we've built over the last 4.5 years. So whilst it's an individual and personal accolade and it's incredible to receive, I couldn't have done it without the team that I've got there. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, shout out to your staff. I'm sure they'll be listening in to this episode.
But this isn't the first sort of recognition that you've received, I guess. Over the last decade, you've received a number of awards and the schools that you've worked at. What do you think has stayed consistent through that time in terms of whether it be your leadership philosophy or the way that you do things over your teaching career?
I've never been satisfied with the status quo. I've always been looking at what
relate.
But I've always thought school can be so much more than what it currently is. And so whilst I've always aimed to be operationally excellent and to do the very best that I could for the young people in my care, I've always looked at what else? What else could I do? And I think what's remained consistent is my ability to sustain curiosity and to be a lifelong learner.
Yep.
You're speaking our language, Adrian. You're speaking our language.
It's a cliche, but I think I'm an insatiable learner. I'm always learning. I'm reading. I'm talking with people. I'm talking with people who are smarter than me, have more experience than me. I'm trying new things. I'm engaging in critical self-reflection probably is too much sometimes.
Welcome to the club.
but always looking at how can we be better and how can we be better in the service of the young people in schools, but also the teachers that work in them as well.
Yeah, I love that. I would love to know, can you recall like a pivotal moment in time that you feel has really shaped your leadership and your approach to leadership? Is there something that happened, maybe it was an initial classroom experience or even before then, that shaped how you approach leadership now?
That's a really good question. I think that the light bulb really went off for me probably in my second or third year as a teacher. I was supported by a really softly spoken mentor who fully believed in me and encouraged me to do things that perhaps I thought I wasn't ready for. And so being able to step forward very early in my career, take on leadership positions, learn by doing, learn through mistakes, trial and error, and then really grow from that experience had really springboarded my confidence into the positions that I had in subsequent years. So that for me is something that I reflect on. And I think I was very fortunate to have that man as a mentor. I think that going back to my time as a student, I think it was the teachers that believed in me. It was the teachers who gave me opportunities and encouraged me to step forward. So not dissimilar to that mentoring experience. And I think now I try and pay that forward and really that has shaped my leadership philosophy and practice right through to the current day.
Yeah, I'm quite curious. You told us off air that you started as a maths and physics teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
In Shepparton, was it?
In Shepparton,
Regional
yes.
Victoria. What was the first status quo challenge that you remember?
Oh, I didn't know what I didn't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
I walked in as a permission to teach teacher. I wasn't even fully qualified yet because it was a hard to staff subject and also a hard to staff school. And so I just went in thinking, listen, I know my subject matter pretty well. I know how to relate to children. Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Had no idea. And I remember walking in the first day and the teacher, who was, I think, the head of faculty at the time, gave me a textbook, said, here's your timetable, here's a copy of the textbook, your classroom's over there, good luck. That was my induction. So it was,
And from that moment on, you decided you were going to challenge it.
So I got in there and, I think at the end of the day, education's all about relationships with people.
Yeah.
And as long as you approach everything with a people-first mentality, I think the rest can fall into place. I don't think I was a very good teacher in my first few weeks, in my first few months, let's say my first few years, but I was continually striving to be better. And I thought if I can do the best for each of these children in front of me, that's half the battle.
So, you go.
Because when you opened, you said you love to challenge the status quo. And I feel like that's what you've won these awards, you've won these accolades, and it's obviously having huge impact on the young people that you serve in your schools, but also on your staff, I imagine. Can you talk to us a little about what are the status quos that you are interested in shifting, changing, getting curious about how we can evolve when it comes to education here in Australia?
And I think it's important, right? Because so many of our schools still really operate in that very compliance-heavy, kind of reactive environments in schools. And we know from everything that you've shared and the reason you're being recognised is because your school and the way you're doing things is challenging those compliance-heavy things.
First and foremost, I think it's incumbent upon leaders and those that work in schools to tell positive stories and positive messages about the great things that are happening in schools across the country. There is too much negative media rhetoric and schools are failing, teachers are to blame, students are falling behind. We've got to shift that. We've got to shift that narrative. And so that's a big part of my work and I'm definitely trying to advocate for teachers, for the teaching profession and for schools. Now, in saying that, what are we doing at Westbourne Grammar? There are so many different things, but it comes down to people and people come first. And so over the past 4 years, we've given people a seat at the table. We've really leaned into a distributed leadership approach where we want everyone to feel as though they're connected to the school and advancing the school in different ways. So whether you're a year 2 teacher, the finance manager or the cleaner, you can contribute to the school and you can make this school a better place. So systemically, what does that look like on the ground? We've got 6-month bespoke leadership development programs where we've had 150 graduates through the school learning about leadership and management. We develop individualised career trajectory pathway plans for every staff member at the school so that they can springboard into their next position, whether it's at our school or whether it's at another school. We have reduced teacher workloads. Our teachers are now required to only teach 16.7 face-to-face hours per week.
Wow.
Which is some of the lowest we think in the Australian school education sector, and that's by design. So workload is an issue, administration, bureaucracy. So how do we pare that back and allow teachers to focus on what really matters, which is the education of children? And I could keep talking, about flexibility. Flexibility arrangements in workplaces are now common practice. It's nothing new. In schools, there's always been a little bit of resistance to that, because how do you provide workplace flexibility for teachers? It's really hard, right? But we approach it from a very simplistic and realistic perspective, where if you're not teaching and you don't have a meeting and you have no other commitments and you want to go home and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that extends to women who perhaps wanting to have families and careers.
Yeah.
How do we support women coming back into the workplace with young children? So there's a number of things that we're doing, including, above legislation guaranteed super contributions for women who are returning from having a young family.
Fine, I'll quit and come and work at your school.
Oh no. I'm about to lose 2 co-hosts here.
Oh gosh. I have so many thoughts and questions. And also, are you hiring? No, I'm joking. So incredible. You mentioned, I'm super curious. I'd love to spotlight one of the incredible things you just shared, which is the face-to-face hours of teaching. And you've reduced those, and arguably you're saying maybe one of the lowest teaching loads in the country. We possibly can't know that for sure, but I'm sure it's possible that it's one of the lowest. I mean, I certainly have never known a school with a teaching load that low as a classroom teacher. So how have you enabled that, and what is your philosophy behind that? I feel like every teacher listening is going to be like, oh my goodness.
It's going to be inundated.
They're going to come through.
Because, there's a lot of theory behind this, and other countries, especially some countries in Europe, are trialling less face-to-face hours of teaching and seeing far higher quality educational outcomes for students.
Yep.
Like there's a correlation.
Team, thank you so much for listening to Podclass. We are just jumping in here quickly to let you know that the Youth Leadership Academy Australia National Tour registrations are now open for both our primary and secondary conferences in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. Get in quick and we will see you there.
There is absolutely a correlation. I think my interest in this area started when I was doing my PhD and I was looking at the lived experiences of teachers in Australia, in schools, and the structures of both society but also education systems that both enable and constrain teachers to be the best versions of themselves and to be able to practice their preferred practices. A little bit of a mouthful. But I think, so that's where the interest started. And then it's, well, how do we empower people to be the very best that they can be? Now, because ultimately we're in education, we're in schools to provide a service to the young people in our care. So if we can look at well-being by putting structures and systems and processes in place for teachers to ensure that they are well, because well-being means being well, and put the support structures around them, we think ultimately not only are we going to have a better teacher, a well teacher, a teacher who can thrive and be their best, but the young people in their care are going to be better. They're going to be better for it. They're going to be able to learn.
And can I ask on that anecdotally, what has been the feedback within your school community as a result of this?
And when did you implement it?
Yeah.
So it was a process of consultation over a period of around 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
And then we've just implemented it at the start of this year.
Yeah, awesome.
And
So
so
about 8 months in.
8 months in, at the moment, culture's great, retention's really high. we're getting good fields of applicants for the jobs that we do advertise. And the school seems to be a lot calmer.
Oh, wow.
So
That's such an interesting observation, but also makes complete sense.
I mean, that's anecdotal, but it's a lot calmer.
But the research we've been doing around synergy and the role that the state and nervous system of the teacher or leader in a space has on the physiological and psychological and, experience of the young people and therefore their state as a learner is so profound,
Yeah.
and there's really interesting emerging data on that. And so if you're actually, I love that you say well-being means being well, it's like we're so quick to throw well-being around, but it actually, and how we actually implementing it. Yeah. And so maybe if there's a state of wellness in your educators, then their state is calmer. It's so interesting that you say it feels calmer.
It feels calmer.
Because it just makes sense.
We've been collecting some data, and I think it's too early to make any grand claims, but sick leave is down across the school as well. And I think one of the things that we continue to monitor and review is this working for everyone? And we believe it is. I guess one of the pieces of resistance that we had from some areas of our community when we looked to introduce, let's say, workplace flexibility for teachers was that, people are just going to go home and there'll be no one here. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing that because in my experience...
Imagine autonomy working.
Yeah, literally.
Imagine autonomy working.
It's like people get their psychological needs met and suddenly they enjoy their
They're more
jobs.
engaged.
And we're seeing that all the time. Teachers love their job.
Yeah.
Most teachers I know work hard, day in, day out, trying to create the most memorable experiences they can for young people. They're not going to take advantage of the system that we've introduced. People are using it in ways to get better work-life balance. They might be leaving at 2:30 to make sure that they can pick up their children from school. They might not have a class from 11 to 1 so that they can go to their child's assembly and see them get presented with an award or play the violin or whatever it is they're doing. Go to their child's athletics day. Make an appointment at the doctor because they haven't been able to get into the doctor, during specific times outside of school hours. So I think
Which are the kinds of, freedoms and opportunities that are often granted in other fields and just have not been available to educators.
It's creating a great workplace culture and we're seeing that in a number of ways. But I guess there's other initiatives that we're looking at as a school as well that we've introduced over the last 18 months. And granted, Westbourne Grammar is an independent school and so we do have some advantages over some other schools
and
in
some
different
other
systems.
governance and flexibility, of course.
Absolutely. But we've got a gym, we've got a personal trainer on staff. And staff, once again, if you're not teaching, if you're not meeting with someone, if you don't have another commitment and you want to go for a workout, go for it.
Will, are you going to become a teacher after
I
this?
nearly signed up. And you were telling yourself earlier, so you have a gym, but you also have a cafe, right?
We do.
A cafe that is led by what I believe year 8s.
Year 8 students, student-led cafe. So part of our new meal school is having students experience end-to-end the management of a small enterprise. And so under the guidance of a teacher, they are actually running a cafe. So imagine almost like a hole-in-the-wall type cafe setup. They're doing barista training. They're making coffees, making hot chocolates. They're organising the menu. They're ordering the food. They're preparing the food. They're getting qualifications that might hold them in good stead if they go and get a part-time or a casual job in a cafe once they're old enough.
So it's 10 a.m. at Westbourne Grammar. You've gone to the gym, gone to get a coffee. You're obviously you're teaching
And now you're about
stuff
to teach one of your 16 hours a week. Yeah.
Is pretty good. And I guess you obviously value as a leader innovation, but what I'm guessing is you don't just value innovation from leadership, and you expect it across the entire staff base, right?
100%. And we really look to promote bottom-up innovation. And that contributes to the positive culture we're building and have built and continue to build. We want to hear from people. We want ideas. We want proposals. And our default answer most of the time is yes. Yes and. So let's have a go at this.
Yes and how does this look?
Right.
Yes and what can we make possible?
Right. And who are you talking with? And what conversations are happening? And what have you tried? And how are we evaluating that? And if it has a great impact and it's got applicability across other parts of the organisation, how do we look to scale that? How do we support you on that journey? And so that's that distributed leadership piece. Yeah. Too often, I think, in schools and organisations, innovation can be top-down. But there is a place for that, don't get me wrong. But how do you encourage bottom-up innovation? And how do you create structures and systems within schools to support people? Because if you do, people do feel seen, valued and heard. And they feel as though they're contributing to something bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Now, they might not be getting paid to do it.
No.
Yeah.
They might not be getting time release to do it. But if they've got a passion and we're supporting that passion and it can have benefits for the school, why aren't we supporting that?
And we talk a lot about motivation in the work that we do, and that, the single greatest determinant for if someone is engaged is their motivation.
Yeah.
And if we can tap into that intrinsic motivation in our school students, but in our school staff as well, and in our leadership, then of course we're going to have an engaged and motivated cohort and community that is what we're seeing is Westbourne Grammar, which we love. Would love to just kind of finish on how do you stay ahead of the curve in terms of new initiatives and kind of keeping this innovation at a high and staying in that progressive kind of mindset for your school, particularly when so many people do just play it safe and that's what's considered normal.
Yeah, listen, personally, I think my ability to synthesize a lot of information fairly quickly from different sources is key. I'm a huge reader, and I just don't read education or leadership and management. I'm reading sociology and technology and, science fiction. Let's get the creative juices really, really flowing and bring all that together and distill that in a vision for what schools could be.
Yeah.
But I also look outside of education, which is really important because oftentimes we get stuck in our bubble.
Echo chamber.
And we can't see outside of that bubble. So that's not to say that we should be bringing in things from business and,
But there's some great research to support looking at other models that are in a different industry, in a different service area, and looking at how things are set up and efficiencies and inefficiencies and learning from them and applying those learnings where relevant.
100%.
Yeah.
And so one of the big things we're bringing in at the moment is this focus on customer service, which is a little bit odd in schools. And I hate to think of our families or our students as customers because they're not. But how do we make sure that every interaction with the people we work with on a daily basis exceeds their expectations? So there's so much for us to learn from those in the customer service space.
And that's just removing the connotation of the label, right? Yeah. If you take that out of it, then obviously there's so much to learn.
It's like providing parents with certainty, right? It's going to have better benefits for the entire school. They're going to trust you more.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
We're about to wrap, but before we do, if you could give 3 key distinctions or 3 key pieces of advice to anyone listening who's looking to embrace a curious mindset or build their own personal leadership or think differently, what would your 3 key...
Really putting you on the spot there. It could be 1, it could be 4 things.
Oh yeah, feel free for it to be anywhere from 1 to 5, honestly.
All right. How do I distill it down into some bite-sized takeaways? Don't wait till you're ready.
Oh,
little bit of a cliche, but don't wait till you're ready.
One of our favourite quotes.
Yeah, I was going to say it's one of Amanda's favourite quotes.
One of my favourite quotes is ready is a decision, not a feeling.
Right. You will never be ready.
Correct.
Yeah.
You will never be ready, no matter what you do. And I think the moment you think you're ready and you know it all, there's something wrong, I think. I don't have it all figured out. I don't think I'll ever have it all figured out. And I think the day I adopt that mindset is probably the day I need to step away from my role because something's gone wrong. Because there's always something new to learn. So I think, don't wait to be ready. I think be the very best learner you can. And it's okay to not know. You can't know everything. And I know that connects with the first point.
Yeah.
But it's okay to not know. And you can be vulnerable and you can be honest and you can be transparent about that. But you can qualify it by saying, I don't know that. But you know what? I'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I think the third one is never do things in isolation. Use your networks. And if you don't have a network, build one. And if you don't know where to start, reach out to me. I'm happy to help.
Amazing. What an incredible conversation with Dr. Adrian Cam. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel inspired. I'm sure everyone does as well.
Absolutely. And we will see you next week joining us for another episode.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Bye.
I'll be here for you, 'cause you're there for them too.
Thanks so much for tuning into Podclass. If you've enjoyed this episode, we would adore it if you could go on to Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and leave us a review. 5 stars would be lovely. We would love to get this podcast into as many ears as possible so we can help and support as many people as possible who help young people. And if you're not already doing so, please go along to Instagram and follow us at podclass.aus.